In a quiet little village surrounded by green hills and golden fields, there lived a young girl named Amina. Everyone in the village loved her because she was kind, gentle, and always ready to help others. She had long, shiny black hair that looked like silk, and her smile made everyone feel warm inside. Amina spent her days helping her mother in the garden, playing with her younger siblings, and singing songs that made even the birds stop and listen. Life in the village was peaceful, and Amina was happy. But she had no idea that her life was about to change forever. One evening, as the sun disappeared behind the hills and the stars began to twinkle, danger crept into the village. Fierce men on horseback, with their faces covered, stormed into the peaceful village. They shouted loudly and set homes on fire, their torches lighting up the dark sky. Amina's family tried to run, but the raiders were too fast. Amina was captured, her wrists tied with rough ropes. She cried for her family as they were separated. She didn't know where they were being taken or if she would ever see them again. As the raiders took her far from her home, Amina felt scared and alone. After many days of traveling, Amina and the other captives arrived in a big, noisy city. There were so many people speaking different languages, selling goods, and hurrying around. Amina and the others were taken to a market where people were being sold like objects. She stood on a wooden platform as strangers looked at her. They pointed and whispered, discussing her beauty as if she wasn't a person. Amina felt helpless. Suddenly, a grand caravan arrived. A tall, noble man stepped out. This was King Jari, the ruler of a great kingdom. His eyes met Amina's, and he saw something special in her. He bought her, but instead of treating her like a slave, he promised to free her. When Amina arrived at King Jari's palace, she couldn't believe her eyes. The palace was enormous, with shining marble floors, golden walls, and gardens filled with flowers of every color. The king gave her a room of her own, soft clothes, and delicious food to eat. But more than that, he gave her the chance to learn. Amina began reading books, learning about art, music, and even the stars in the sky. She was smart and curious, and everyone admired her. The king saw her potential and encouraged her to dream big. For the first time since she was taken from her village, Amina began to feel hope. As the days turned into weeks, Amina and the king spent more time together. She shared her thoughts and dreams, and the king admired her wisdom and courage. He loved her laugh, which reminded him of the happiness he had lost in his own life. Amina, too, felt safe and respected in his presence. The bond between them grew stronger, and what started as friendship blossomed into love. Amina had never imagined such a future for herself, but here she was, finding joy in an unexpected place. One day, King Jari gathered his court to make an announcement. He declared that he wanted Amina to be his queen. The nobles gasped, shocked that a former slave girl would become their queen. But the people of the kingdom cheered. They loved Amina for her kindness, wisdom, and strength. The king crowned her with a beautiful golden crown, and Amina stood tall, ready to take on her new role. She promised to rule with fairness and compassion, just as she had lived her life. Even as she lived in the grand palace, Amina often felt a deep sadness. At night, she would stand by the window and look out at the stars, thinking about her family. Were they safe? Did they miss her? Did they even know she was alive? She longed to hear her mother's voice, to hug her younger siblings, and to walk in her village again. The pain of not knowing where her family was, or if she would ever see them again, weighed heavily on her heart. One evening, the king noticed tears in Amina's eyes. He asked her why she was sad, and she told him about her family and how much she missed them. The king took her hands in his and promised, "I will help you find them. No matter how long it takes, we will search every corner of the land." He sent messengers and scouts to faraway places, asking for news of a family that had lost a daughter. Amina's heart filled with hope. Maybe, just maybe, she would see her family again. After many months of searching, one of the king's messengers returned with news. In a small village on the edge of the kingdom, an elderly couple had been telling the story of their daughter, who had been taken from them many years ago. Amina's heart raced as she listened to the details. Could it be her parents? She and the king set out immediately, traveling for days to reach the village. When they arrived, Amina saw an old man and woman sitting outside a small house. Their faces were wrinkled, and their hair was grey, but their eyes lit up when they saw her. "Amina," the woman whispered, tears streaming down her face. Amina ran to them, crying as she hugged them tightly. It was her parents. After so many years, they were together again. The reunion was filled with joy and sorrow, as they shared their stories and the pain of being apart. Amina's heart felt whole again. Amina looked around her old village and saw how much it had suffered. The homes were worn down, the fields were dry, and the people were struggling. She promised her parents and the villagers, "I will help you rebuild. I will make sure no one else suffers like we did." With the king's help, Amina began to transform the village into a place of hope and happiness. Under Amina's guidance, new homes were built, wells were dug for fresh water, and schools were opened for children. The fields became green again, and the people started smiling. Amina's village became a shining example of what kindness and determination could achieve. People from other villages came to see the changes and learn from her. Amina didn't stop there. She worked to free other people who were still in slavery, giving them land, tools, and opportunities to start new lives. She wanted everyone to have the chance to live with dignity and hope, just as she had been given. Back in the palace, Amina and the king grew closer than ever. They worked together to rule the kingdom wisely and spent peaceful moments in the gardens, remembering how far they had come. Their love was a source of strength for them both. Amina became known as a wise and compassionate queen. She listened to her people, solved their problems, and made sure everyone was treated fairly. Her story inspired others, showing that even the hardest challenges could be overcome. Amina's name became a legend. Her village grew into a great city, and her work to help others continued long after her time. Her story was told to children as a reminder that no matter how dark things may seem, there is always hope for a brighter future.